What's going on, all of you wonderful commissioners in the Asgardian League of Fantasy? It is your commish, Olive Juice 88, coming to you with our first recap video of the season. I know I said I'd get this out last night, but it turns out that when a baby gets ready to go to sleep, you also pretty much go to sleep. So, that being said, um, I'll get this thing underway. First game, you had myself taking on old Papa Bear and coming out on top, much like last year. Um, you know, it is what it is. Um, really hoping that when Jonathan Taylor comes back, you can put forth better effort and maybe get some wins this year, Dad. But so far right now, it was a 49-point victory, led thoroughly by the machine, Roquan Smith, who is our defensive MVP. 35 points on the week, 16 tackles and a sack. Just putting on a clinic out there all over the field. Like Dad even asked if he legitimately sent me a message asking if that guy was like a robot or something, because he's just all over the place. So yeah, really took over that game and led us to victory. In our second matchup, we had Eric taking on Brad, and winning by 33 points, led by our offensive MVP Tyreek Hill, who had 44.5 points, posting a wild 11 catches for 215 and 2 touchdowns. Just absolutely crazy. That Miami offense is going to be a problem for a lot of teams this year, and really excited to see how that plays out. In our third game, we had the Battle of the Bryans with Brian Carden coming out on top against Brian Smith. It was a 6-point victory. It was a smaller margin earlier in the week, but some defensive stat corrections went through and bumped it to 6. I think it was Darren Waller got credited with a tackle, I think, at some point. Gave him a couple extra points. So, moving on, our fourth matchup was Matt Murphy versus Josh Jansen. That was a 3-point game. That also had a different margin early in the week, but was altered a little bit due to some stat corrections. It didn't change the outcome. What would have changed the outcome would have been, I don't know, our bench MVP of the week. Yes, I am going to start a bench MVP of the week portion of these recaps, mostly going towards a losing team, and we're going to see how that goes. But this week it is TJ Watt. Myles Garrett was out there. Not only was he out there crossing the defensive line with his imaginary between the legs, pre-snap, fake out, but he also crossed his fantasy manager in the Asgardian League of Fantasy into thinking that he should play him over TJ Watt. And TJ Watt went on to post 47 points, thanks in large part to 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery to go along with 5 tackles. I'm sure some of those were for losses. Just that dude right there, he's gonna quickly make his way to better stat lines than JJ Watt, and will probably be, when all is said and done, more than likely a Hall of Fame worthy player over the course of his career. So, this is just, I'm sure TJ Watt will be in the lineup this week when Jansen takes on, you know, his matchup this week. So, and in our last matchup, we had Melvin taking on Josh Russell. I moved some games around in the schedule, swapped up some weeks so that we could have a championship rematch. And this one, it went a little bit different, but the outcome was still the same. Melvin um, just put up a crazy number, 60-point victory, due in large part to the Bengals just kind of having an off game this week and a couple of other unfortunate, uh, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Unfortunate stat lines for a few other people that led to Russell only putting up, 105, 106 points, I think, because I'm pretty sure Melvin put up about 165. So, yeah, it was just a blowout. That was the biggest point differential on the week. So, um, yeah. So that pretty much recaps all of our matchups from last week. I didn't have a lot as far as segments go, so I wanted to try something a little bit different. And I'm going to move into a week 2 preview. Yes, there's already been a game played, so we already kind of got an idea of who's off to a hot start and who's got some ground to make up. But um, I thought it'd be good. I may still do the next week previews or whatever, but I'm probably not going to use the same stats. Highlight the same type of things. Just because a lot of this was time consuming in looking up, and you'll see why here in a second. So. That being said, in our first matchup, myself will be taking on our reigning, defending, um, worthy champion, worthy to lift the hammer in Melvin. Um, we have played each other 4 times so far in 2 seasons, with Melvin winning 3 of those and me winning 1. Um, Melvin is averaging 154.78 points in 29 total regular season games. And people are scoring on average 143.25 points against him. I am averaging 141.66 points per game with 142.24 points typically scored against me. Over the course of those 29 regular season games, I am 13-16 with a 1-0 record this year. Melvin is 19-10 with a 1-0 record this year. And Melvin is currently favored in this matchup after already getting a strong showing from. No, maybe he didn't already have somebody. Either way, he's favored as of right now. I think he had somebody play, but I can't remember who it is right now off the top of my head. And there are a couple of injuries to look out for. Mark Andrews and Puka Nacua are questionable as of right now. Andrews with a quad and Nacua with an oblique injury somewhere in the abdomen area. So, and D Hop is questionable with an ankle injury on Melvin's side. So we'll have to look out for those and make some changes if necessary. But interesting to see the inactive report when those come out. this week because there are some big names still to look out for. One of those big names is in this next matchup with Brad taking on the Josh Jansen. Um, the Josh Jansen. I don't really know what I was gonna say there that caused me to say the first, but I mean, I'm just gonna go with the flow. Um, Brad is sporting a 14-15 record over the course of 29 regular season games, with an 0-1 record so far this year. Josh is sporting a 16-13 record with an 0-1 record so far this year. They've played each other 5 times. And these games against, I did include playoff games, but I did not include that in the overall record over the course of the past couple of seasons. But overall, they've faced each other 5 times. Josh has won 3 of those. Brad has won 2. In total, across the last couple of seasons, Brad has averaged 132.78 points per game, with 134.75 points scored against him. Josh is averaging 146.74, with 129.49 points scored against him. And the only injuries, sorry, I've got the hiccups to look out for. And this one are James Conner and Travis Kelce, or Kels, however you say it. I don't know. I've heard Kelsey so many times now that it's ingrained, but I do hear that it's actually pronounced Kels. I believe they said that on their podcast. So both of those guys are questionable. I think Connor is a hamstring maybe, and Kelsey is a knee. I mean, it was bruised. He was out there on the practice field trolling the camera guys. He went to grab his knee and then just started twerking. So, I mean, he's having fun with it. I don't think he's gonna miss this week because I don't know why you would start trolling people and then still miss. So I think he's gonna be out there tomorrow, and hopefully he doesn't do too much. I want him to save himself for the playoff push. So I mean, if he could just take it easy during the regular season, and not really worry about, he can just let Mark Andrews take the top tight end spot this year. That'd be cool. But anyway, we'll move on. We've got Brian Carton up against old Papa Bear. Brian is sporting a 14-15 overall regular season record, 1-0 this year, and Pops is 7-22 and 0-1 so far this year. Also Brad is currently favored to win his matchup against Josh Jansen according to the projections for Sleeper. Pops currently favored according to the projections for Sleeper to win this week and match his win total from last year. So that'd be great. So far, they have faced each other 5 times, including playoffs and toilet bowls. Brian has won 3. Pops has won 2. Brian is scoring 130.68 points on average, and people are scoring 137.16 points on average against him. Pops is putting up 129.47, with people putting 148.04 on average against him. And the only injury of note there is Christian Watson, who is still dealing with a hamstring injury, waiting to make his debut. He is questionable, but looks to be trending up. Not quite sure if he's ready to play because I don't think he practices all this week, but it's probably looking good for next week. So yeah. Then we've got Matt Murphy taking on Josh Russell. Matt Murphy is sporting a 16-13 record, 1-0 on the season. with um, I'm sorry, brain fart. He's 16 and 13 total, 1-0 on the season. Josh Russell is 8-7, 0-1 on the season, and the previous manager of that team was 8-6 in 2021. Don't want to really give Josh credit for that year since he didn't make the start sit decisions for that season, but I did find it interesting that they still keep that record attached to that team in the league history. Last year, Murphy and Russell did meet twice. They split those matchups, both winning a game. Murphy is averaging 139.24 points total so far through 29 games, 29 regular season games, and people are scoring 136.93 points against him. Russell last year, so this is just games from last year and um, this year's game. No, I think I just did the average from last year. But he's averaging 128.02 points um, across the games so far, and is averaging 135.91 points scored against him. So I'm sure that's gonna start to trend upwards. He's been a pretty solid player. He's got a pretty talented roster. It just has to start to come together and hit on a more consistent basis. So yeah, we'll see how that continues to develop. In this game, we do have a few injuries to monitor with Aaron Jones and Brandon Cooks. Both dealing with hamstrings, I believe. I know Aaron Jones is a hamstring. I think Brandon Cooks was a hamstring as well. Both are questionable for Sunday. And Austin Eckler dealing with an ankle injury. He has actually been down. I've got questionable, but he's been downgraded to doubtful, and it doesn't look like he's probably going to play this week. Very disappointing because I've got him to in a couple other places. And I was really looking forward to dominating those other leagues, but I'm probably going to end up taking one on the chin this week because of that. But it's okay. It's just one game. In our last matchup, we have Brian Smith, 11-18 overall, 0-1 on the season, and he is facing Eric, who is 19-10 overall and 1-0 on the season. I don't think I mentioned Josh Russell is favored in his matchup so far, according to the sleeper projections, and so is Eric. He is currently favored according to the sleeper projections. They have faced each other 3 times. Brian and Eric faced each other 3 times with 1 win for my brother Brian and 2 for Eric. Brian is averaging 131.81 points and 138.84 points scored against him. Eric is averaging 149.89 points with 137.77 points scored against him. And the couple of injuries here are Joey Bosa and Breece Hall. They were just, last I checked, they were both listed as questionable for this week. So that was a lot. That was a lot of work flipping back and forth between a couple other seasons, grabbing, win totals, when you played each other, who won, all that stuff. So if I continue to do the following week preview, it probably probably not going to go that far in depth just because that was a lot. I'll probably just touch on what the matchups are, who's favored, and any notable injuries, and I'll just go from there. I'm not going to keep doing points, averages, records against each other, all that stuff. Um, it just took a lot of time, and yeah. Oh, we've got a baby waking up. I was too loud, guys. That being said, I'm gonna hop off here and try to get this baby to go back to sleep. It's nappy time. We don't need to sit up. Yeah, oh, she's so sleepy. But, alright, guys. You all have a great weekend. Enjoy the football games. I'm going to get out of here, put this baby back to sleep, and I'll see y'all next week with the week 2 recap.